Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So good evening, everyone, and namaste. Welcome to our Wednesday night gathering to read and discuss Swami Ranganathananda's lovely little book, Divine Grace. We're well along, but that doesn't mean that anyone who's joining us recently won't get a great deal out of it. There's something wonderful on every page of this book. So, is there anything left over from last week that should be asked or discussed from anyone? All right, dears. Well, this is our last class until September 7th. So please do be sure and share any wisdom or comment that you have, or any concern or question that you want to raise, because other than contacting me personally, there won't be any classes in August. So anything that you have to ask or say, please do say it this evening. With that, Swayam, would you please
Yes,
begin?
sure. Do you want me to start again at the beginning of section 15, or I think we were at the bottom of page 23. Do you want me to go to 24?
No, I want you to start again at the beginning of 15, I think.
Okay.
I think that's wise, uh, because this is such a key idea that he's talking about here.
Okay. Section 15, the strength of self-reliance and the super strength of self-surrender. Swami Vivekananda used to convey the meaning of this philosophy of self surrender and saintliness as the crown of self reliance and manliness in a humorous vein in these words. The Muslims have a holy celebration every year, and they generally sacrifice a goat on that occasion. So, intelligent Muslims will purchase the animal a month earlier and feed it well, so that when they sacrifice it, they get more meat out of it. That is the way in spiritual life. First, strengthen yourself, assert yourself, and then sacrifice yourself, deny yourself in surrender to God through a super strength. That is the correct attitude and way. First comes manliness, then comes saintliness or godliness. Erect your saintliness on your manliness. That will be a powerful saintliness. So work hard, build up your individuality. And then, when you are strong and spiritually mature as a man, you look up and see a greater courage and a greater strength beckoning you, which makes you experience and say, "Not I, but thou, thy will be done." This is the meaning of Sri Krishna's presenting the full message of self surrender and divine grace in the last, it's 18th chapter of the Gita, as the final message of religion. Whereas previously he had always said, "Be strong, have faith in yourself, and face your problems manfully," as in verse 33 of chapter 11, after showing Arjuna his Vishwarupa or universal form. "Therefore do you rise from this dejection and weakness and acquire the glory of manliness by conquering your enemies, thwarting obstacles, and enjoy the prosperous domain of your life." Before that, in verse 14 of chapter 7, Sri Krishna had struck the first powerful initial note of divine grace in a message of hope and assurance. Man is caught up in the delusion of his being the truncated ego and its organic system, and under that delusion behaves in petty ways and experiences suffering and sorrow, and scatters the same around in society. This is Maya, which makes him forget his real nature and his intimate relationship with the Divine, the Lord of Maya, and with all other beings. It is divine grace that releases him from this Maya and restores him to God. Gita, chapter 7. "Verily, this is my divine Maya, constituted of the three gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas, is difficult to cross over. Those who take refuge in me alone cross over this Maya." But now, towards the end, he sings a different note and presents that initial note as the final note, as we have seen. "Now I tell you the profoundest secret. Having achieved all this manliness, say to yourself and experience that everything, including my ego, belongs to the Lord. There is nothing of me and mine." And we had read up to that point last time.
Yes, and this last sentence is the key to crossing over this Maya. Everything is and belongs to the divine. There is nothing of me and mine. This is the true self-surrender or abandonment of selfishness, self-centeredness. So having read all that again, is there any comment from your own wisdom or experience, or any concern or question? All right, dear, please read on.
"This is kingly surrender. If a soldier is weak and timid, with the first battle he surrenders everything and becomes a prisoner of the enemy. There is no virtue in it. Put up a great resistance, show your strength, then surrender if circumstances demand it. Then will the world respect you." We read in Greek history, in its relations with ancient India, that when Alexander came to the northwest of India, one of the kings of the Punjab at the time, Porus, or Paurava king by name, who ruled over the territory between the Jhelum and Chenab rivers, and who was a very brave and strong man, put up a courageous fight against the all conquering emperor. He was, however, overcome because Alexander's tactics were more efficient. He was taken prisoner and brought before Alexander. After a few words were exchanged, when Alexander asked him, "Now, how do you want me to treat you?" he said in all dignity, "Treat me as a king treats a king." Alexander was deeply impressed and treated him with all respect and honor.
And this is such a profound story in the context that the Swami is talking about here. That just be absolutely courageous in your struggle against the everything that assails you, and then when inevitably, because our struggle is a struggle of the left mind, we will be defeated. Then how to deal with this? With the dignity that this king, Kaurava, treat me as a king treats another king, because we are in fact that divine presence. And so then, in our surrender, there is respect, self-respect, and respect of the divine for us. There is love for us and care for us regardless. But love who art partial to none, we are equal before thy sight, regardless of how we think or behave. But there will be this equivalence, this sense of selfhood at this transcendent level, if we take the attitude that the Swami is recommending to us by telling this story. Any comments or questions or concerns? All right, dear, please read on.
As in daily human life, so also in the life of religion, God respects a soul which has worked hard to become strong and steady by cultivating whatever strength is given to him, and then seeks greater strength to surrender all that's to him. How virtuous is that surrender! And of what stern stuff is such a surrender made? There is a famous verse in Tagore's Gitanjali, Song 36. Give me the strength lightly to bear my joys and sorrows. Give me the strength to make my love fruitful in service. Give me the strength never to disown the poor, or bend my knees before insolent might. Give me the strength to raise my mind high above daily trifles. Now, after this invocation of strength, there comes finally this highest music of spirituality in the invocation of a super strength. And give me the strength to surrender my strength to thy will with love. That signifies a greater strength that comes from God Himself, ever dwelling within man, who is described in Vedanta as the fear of fear itself, as Maha Mahanirvana Tantra expresses. As the Srimad Bhagavatam puts it, when men and women with strength, physical strength, mental strength, and the strength of talents and capacities, can stand before God and say, "All this is yours, O Lord, nothing is mine, thou art all." What genuine human greatness and glory will be expressed in that final renunciation.
Now, please read that last paragraph again, dear.
Including the poem or after the
No,
poem?
after the poem.
Okay. That signifies a greater strength that comes from God Himself.
That comes from God Himself. There is no source of strength other than the divine. There is one existence. As Vivekananda points out, there cannot be two, only one. So within that existence is all that is meant by omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipotence. All pervading, all knowing, all strength, all powerful. So when it shows up in us, it is our divine nature manifesting itself. As Vivekananda says, religion is nothing more than the manifestation of the divinity already within. And the divinity is not anything having whatsoever to do with, in any immediate sense, with our sense of a separate self. In its more comprehensive sense, it includes that as well. But this surrender, this self-surrender, is the surrender of that idea of separateness and saying, "Thou art all. Thou art all." So this is bound to raise some thoughts in you. As I should say, let's not leave this week and have the whole month of August go by without your having shared, if you want to share, whatever is on your mind as something from your own wisdom or experience, or some concern or question that you have.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear.
I think one important point is on page 24, where the Swami says, God respects a soul which has worked hard to become strong and steady by cultivating whatever strength is given to him, and then seek greater strength to surrender all that strength to him. Um, Often we get um, lost or disappointed by not realizing our strength but looking at what somebody else has done and try to reach there without first identifying our own strength and
Well,
working on it.
you're absolutely right, dear. And this comparing ourselves with others is a dreadful trap. As Sri Krishna says, manifest and perfect that which is yours. Don't try to, however easy it may be, however it is satisfying it may seem, to do what others have done. If you find it easy and if you find it satisfying, there's reason to think that's because that's something you've already mastered in a past lifetime. That's why it's easy and, oh, I can do this. But Sri Krishna says, no, no. Do your own. Follow your own swadharma. Follow your own path. And this will be the path of growth. And so this directly applies to what was said here. So you're absolutely right, Swayam, is what I'm saying. You're right to identify this as a key point. And do not compare yourselves with others. It's just a dreadful trap. No matter how attractive it may seem to think, oh, I'll do like they've done. I'll understand as they understand. No. You are an completely unique aspect of the divine infinite. Manifest that and then surrender it. Anything else from anyone?
Yes, Brother Shankara, this is Jeff.
Yes, Jeff.
It struck me that there's a logical fallacy in trying to compare yourself to someone else, because you cannot truly know that other person in totality. You can't know what they're going through and how they're living their lives. So how can you possibly compare yourself to anyone else?
Exactly. Very well said. And any psychologist or psychiatrist will tell you exactly what you've just said, Jeff. You don't know yourself, let alone others. Work on yourself. Resolve those things that are impediments for yourself. Don't try to don't try to think you know what it is that someone else is actually doing and adopt that. Very well said, Jeff. You can't know. So there is a logical fallacy, no two ways about it.
A thought just came to me that sometimes what we think as our weakness may really be our strength, but we perceive that as weakness because we are comparing it with something that we see as strength in others.
Yes, and every weakness, everything within Maya has its negative and positive aspects. And Vivekananda says, focus on the positive. Focus, expansion is life, contraction is death. So don't focus on your weakness. Find out, determine what is the positive aspect of this. If I'm stubborn, if people say, oh, you're so stubborn, well, you may well indeed be stubborn. But what that indicates is that you're very determined and very self-determined. And so focus on that self-determination, not on this idea of, oh, somehow I'm bad and wrong for being stubborn. No. I can testify to this one of my own experience. So that's why that came up. So anything else from anyone?
Yes, I've considered that stubbornness is a two-edged sword, because yes, a person who's stubborn refuses to listen. That's a bad thing. However, the great achievers are also stubborn in the pursuit of their goals.
Absolutely. And may sometimes seem inconsiderate of others. Again, as Jeff pointed out, because we really don't understand who they are or what they're doing. And so we project this, oh, they're inconsiderate of me. So, all right. Anything else from anyone? Thank you, Brahmadas.
So I think, Brother Shankara, that
Yes.
also leads to be non-judgmental, you know.
Yes, of yourself and of others.
Mm-hmm.
It starts, you cannot be non-judgmental of others. You cannot until you have learned to not judge yourself, but simply observe yourself and say what is auspicious and what is inauspicious. Not what is bad and wrong, what is auspicious, what is the good, and where am I just following the pleasant? That kind of question. Without any judgment. And then you can look on others in that same way. Thanks for bringing that up, Nira. You're absolutely right. Judgment is a way of keeping reality at arm's length, our own reality and the reality of the world around us. When we box it up and think we've got it nailed, well, we've nailed our foot to the floor.
Hari Om Shankaraji.
Yes, Balaji.
I just did not understand this sentence. It says, on page 25, that signifies a greater strength that comes from God Himself, ever dwelling within man, who is described in Vedanta as the fear of the fear itself. What exactly that, conveys, I don't understand.
What is it you don't understand, that phrase?
The fear of the fear itself. Because when the God is with you, within you, there should not be any fear. That's one of the characteristics of a sattvic person is fearlessness. So, but the Vedanta doesn't say, one has to be fearless, but Vedanta as the fear of the fear itself.
That's it. If we are to be fearless, what are we, so to speak, in fear of? Fear itself. We work to transcend the fear, but it's to try to pretend it's not there. So we recognize it and we say, oh no, I'm not going to let that master me. I'm going to be master of my own fear. So this is at least the understanding from here of the meaning of that. If anybody else has anything to offer, please offer it, the understanding of that phrase.
Brother Shankara?
Yes,
The way
dear.
I see it is, when that greater strength comes to, from God comes to ever dwelling within man, and it comes to man, we become sort of, the fear itself fears us. We are fearless. So the fear that used to be there in the lower self becomes afraid of the power. So the fear goes away.
Ah, very well said. As Sri Ramakrishna says, when the ego becomes ripe, it becomes like a shy child and stands in reverence of the self. So I think you've also said something very important and profound there. Yes, well said. Does that make it any clearer, Balaji?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Thank you for bringing it up. And I'll bet you there were questions of the Swami about that very thing at the time that he gave this talk. Anyone else have anything before we read on? Okay, dears, let's read on.
When men and women with strength, physical strength, mental strength, and strength of talents and capacities, can stand before God and say, all this is yours, O Lord, nothing is mine, thou art all. what genuine human greatness and glory will be expressed in that final denunciation.
Amen.
Section 16, be a bhakta, not a boka. Sri Ramakrishna used to recite a line from a Bengali song, the translation of which is, I am not averse to granting mukti, liberation, to anybody, but I am very, very careful about granting bhakti to anyone. That is a very strange statement. Mukti is generally considered to be more costly in terms of effort and struggle than bhakti. But this verse expresses this strange sentiment. Now, what may that mean? Here is a humorous explanation given by another saintly person. If I give mukti to anyone, he or she will never again bother me asking this and that. But if I give bhakti to anyone, from the very next day, he or she will harass me. Give me a job, give me a son, give me money, give me this, and give me that. All arising from an absence of faith in oneself and in the spirit of self reliance, a constant harassment of God. That is the nature of that type of bhakti which is not based on manliness. Because such weak people, take refuge in such an attitude, this bhakti means that the bhakta has not cultivated the powers and opportunities given by God to him or her, and that God's burden increases thereby all the time. So God is averse to grant bhakti. Ramakrishna said, be a bhakta, but don't be a boga. Bhakta means a devotee, whereas boka in Bengali means a fool. Every tune of the music of the Gita, whether it concerns man's secular life or spiritual life, is suffused with this message of strength and fearlessness. Whether in worldly life or in spiritual life, Vedanta exhorts man to manifest strength. The Gita.
Now let's just read that again, please. Let's not skip over that. Whether in worldly life or spiritual life. Actually, there is no difference, but it seems to us. This is why the Swami uses this language. There seems to be our worldly life, and then there seems to be our spiritual life. He's saying, whether in either of those, Vedanta exhorts us to manifest strength. And then later we understand there's no difference between my worldly life and spiritual life. Spiritual life and worldly life are one and the same thing, just lived in a different way. Any comments or questions about that?
This is where, if we do some introspection, we realize that every challenge that comes our way is an opportunity to gain strength and fearlessness.
Amen.
We become dependent, but when somebody else is taking care, and then when a situation comes where we have to do it ourselves, we discover that strength to somehow do what we were reluctant to do before.
Well, this is why the Swami talks about, he starts with us talking about us as children, dependent on our mothers entirely, and then growing up and growing up and growing up and becoming more and more capable and self-reliant. If you remember, that's where he begins this book. And then he even talks about, if there are impediments like those experienced by this young person named Dibbs. He said, those can be overcome as well. Don't let anything stand in your way. Find a way to resolve it and continue to manifest yourself and grow and be and create. This is the joy of what seems to be worldly life. As he says later on, you understand, oh, that was all spiritual growth too, because I was manifesting that which is within us, exhorts us to manifest that strength. Thank you, Swami. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara, this is Jeff.
Yes, Jeff.
I'm a little bit hung up on the preceding paragraph. I understand what it's saying, that that we should have the strength of our humanness as we pursue a spiritual life. But I don't get the part about God not being able to handle the pestering from a bhakta. Of course he can handle it. He's God, you know, and I think we're I can never say that word, anthropomorphizing? I think I said it.
I don't think the Swami's that word.
I've done it for you, haven't I?
I don't think so.
We're giving God a very human quality if we're saying that he can't handle the nagging of a bhakti.
It is not that he can't handle it. It's just like Sri Ramakrishna said. Sri Ramakrishna could have healed anyone who came to him. He had the capacity to heal everyone. Why didn't he do it? He was asked that. Why don't you heal people when they come? He said, if I did, this would become nothing but a clinic. There would be no ability to offer what I really came to offer. People would just come, and it would become both a clinic and a curiosity shop. So it isn't that he can't handle it. He doesn't want to handle it. He wants to offer us something higher. Doesn't want to offer us, as Swami Brahmananda said, people come to me. I have the keys to the treasure box. But what do they ask me for? Potatoes, eggplants, and onions. What did he mean? They ask for worldly things. A beneficial marriage for my son or my daughter. A good grade on this examination for my child. A better house to live in. It isn't that they're wrong for asking these things. It's just that it's not. When he said, I have the keys to the treasure box, he meant the treasure box that contains all of Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual attainments through his austerities and his sadhana. That is all available if they ask. That can be given. People come and ask for potatoes, eggplants, and onions. Brahmananda was not complaining. He was simply observing how they are being bhoka rather than bhakti. It may seem like bhakti. It may seem like they're being a bhakta to come and ask in this way. But in fact, in a spiritual sense, they are being a bhoka, a fool. That's what Sri Ramakrishna meant by that remark. So we're not anthropomorphizing when we're saying that God as a human being, God as the divine incarnation is human. He's just fully human. and so fully divine. And that is the goal of this book, is to teach us that to be fully human is to be fully divine. So does that clarify it, Jeff?
Yes, it does. But the one lingering thought I have is that that bhakti is one of the four yogas. And
Oh, but this
here
is,
it- here it's being given short shrift, and I'm just,
no, it's not being given short shrift. If you're a true bhakta, you are doing your best to surrender your attachment to the world, not asking for things of the world. You are doing your best. Please read my definition of bhakti. Just go back to one of the bhakti talks, whatever month that was, a month or so ago, and see what the definition of bhakta is. You will not, it isn't, as I said, that it's bad and wrong to ask for these things. It's just far from the ideal. And bhakti is a very ideal path. It's not a simple, easy path. It's easier than jnana. For that matter, it's easier than raja. But it is not a simple-minded and it's not being given short shrift here. As a matter of fact, it's being exalted, saying, don't drag it down by using it to ask for potatoes, eggplants, and onions.
and so the bhakta should be coming at this from that strength that is necessary, that gives wisdom to know what to ask for.
Yes, and so you ask for that strength. You ask for wisdom, strength, and determination and courage. The attributes that will allow you to do for yourself and then transcend. I really encourage you to go back and look at that definition, Jeff, if you want to understand at least what is meant from here. It's certainly not the final word on bhakti. I mean, Narada's Bhakti Sutras are worth your attention if you want to see just exactly how high and transcendent a path bhakti is. But there is that summary that is the understanding from here of what bhakti is and what a bhakta is, therefore, in that summary statement that
So that's in the recordings of your Sunday talks, right?
yeah, and not just the recordings, it's in the notes.
Right.
It's you'll find it in the notes, and you'll find it you'll find it in, and you'll find it well, just go to one of those talks on bhakti and just open the notes, and you'll find that definition. It starts just like this month we've been giving the definition of karma.
Okay.
And again, it's certainly not definitive, not the whole and complete and ultimate truth. It's just the understanding from here that is communicable as we together study this art of spirituality.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for bringing these things up. They need to be resolved. And I really think that what the Swami is not doing is not minimizing bhakti, but stressing that it has an ideal that is far above asking for the things that he mentions and that I summarized as potatoes, eggplants, and onions.
Or my favorite example in Western culture is prayer before a football game.
Yes. And that's the first talk that will be given in September. You can't win if you don't play. If you sit in the stands and watch a football game, you're not getting very much out of the game. Get down on the field and play. Then you get something out of the game.
So don't pray for it, play for it.
Exactly. Oh, I love it. What a lovely play on words. Yes, don't pray for it, play for it. Anything else from anyone? This is great. This is exactly what we should be doing.
Another play on the words would be pray that I can play the best.
Ah, yes. Exactly. Okay, dear, if there's nothing more in the way of comments or concerns or questions from anyone, then we'll read on.
Now we are on.
No, whether just start again with whether in worldly life or spiritual life.
Oh, okay. Whether in worldly life or in spiritual life, Vedanta exhorts man to manifest strength. The Gita and other Vedanta books club raga, bhaya, and krodha, attachment, fear, and anger as inhibitors of moral and spiritual growth and exhort man to forsake them. Weakness is no virtue anywhere. Fear is no virtue anywhere, according to Vedanta. The first virtue to be cultivated by anyone, says the Gita, is abhayam or fearlessness. The Upanishads describe Brahman, the ultimate reality or God, as abhayam, fearlessness. And they describe anyone who attains Brahman as having attained the state of fearlessness. And then there's a Sanskrit phrase, abhayam vai praptosi.
Okay, so again, we're back to strength and it's accompanying. Does this mean that you do not experience fear? It does not mean that. Fearlessness does not mean you do not experience fear. It means that you are not daunted or inhibited by the fear that comes up. Your left mind, your left limbic system and your left mind is engineered to throw up all kinds of fearful things and cause you to consider them. As Mark Twain put it, in my life, thousands of terrible things have occurred to me, most of which never happened. In my life, thousands of things, terrible things, thousands of terrible things have occurred to me, most of which never happened. So our left limbic system and our left mind is meant to throw up these concerns, fears, doubts. If we are heart-centered and established in whatever spiritual path that we're on, we simply will not let those things stop us. We will consider them. We will honor our left mind and left limbic system by thanking them for sharing with us and saying, there is something more, we'll go on. That's what's meant by fearlessness, abhaya. Any comments or concerns about that?
Brother Shankara, I think again, I may have said this before, but one thing to keep in mind is when the fear comes, not to push it and pretend a bravado, but see the fear, take the help, whatever, allow that fear to be witnessed, and then find ways to overcome. If we try
Yes,
to push it, it doesn't go away.
absolutely. Suppression and repression are just a way to cause it to become more infected and fester. All right. Sometimes we will be defeated by our fear. There's no two ways about it. We'll be defeated in the moment by our fear. So what does Vivekananda say? We fall 1,000 times, we rise 1,001 times. So fearlessness does not mean we'll never ever lose to fear. It means we won't stop. We won't, as they say to the person who gets thrown from the horse, the thing you must do is immediately get back on the horse. It isn't that you didn't get thrown from the horse. You got thrown from the horse. And you may even have been hurt. What is the thing to do if you're going to learn how to ride a horse? Get back on the horse.
Again, a lot of this has to see to do with the way society perceives how one expresses fear, or the labeling that if somebody acknowledges fear, then they are perceived as weak, whereas somebody who may be fearful but puts on an act is considered not fearful.
Yes, and so we must not, this is the whole idea of self-determination. We must not give one moment's thought to what society says about this, including those who may be close to us, who may do this bravado thing, as you put it. You know, they may put on, and they may criticize you. Well, they're only projecting their own concerns, fears, weaknesses. Pay no attention to it. Don't even listen to it. Just say, thank you for sharing. Be as kind as you can. And pay no attention to it. Pay no attention. This is what we learn. Where our attention goes is where we follow. This is something that is known to the Hatha Yogi absolutely. Where your prana goes, where your energy is focused, that's what will manifest. And so they learn to control and manifest that prana through these wonderful poses that they do, so that they develop poise and grace and strength of character, strength of body. All of that's very wonderful. And so where our attention goes, that's where we are headed. So you're so right, Swami. Don't let a society govern you.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear.
are some fears or hidden fears in the subconscious that we are not aware of, and then they cause anxiety, or
Yes, of course it's true, dear.
so we have to have some kind of awareness to even feel that we are going through a fear.
Well, this is what the practice of contemplation, concentration, and meditation. This is one of the major aspects of it. We learn to experience. We get beyond our constant distraction with the outside world, what seems to us to be the outside world. And we learn to experience the contents of our inner world. And yes, there will be fears. Yes, there will be things that have left a samskara of fear in us. No two ways about it. Children who are way too young to know anything about a lion or a tiger or a snake or any will describe being pursued by, they're about to be devoured by, and by what? And they'll describe to you this animal or this snake or whatever it is. Clearly that's a samskara. Clearly that is what is being brought with them. So at least that's one interpretation. One can say they're gathering it from the collective unconscious, but that's a bit of a stretch in a way for children that age. So yes, we have these things, and we learn to confront them and not let them stop us, not let them interrupt us in our concentration and meditation, but go on with, and then we simply acknowledge, yes, that is there. Sri Ramakrishna says, we can't pretend it's not there. You wake up from a dream of being chased by a tiger, you're panting, and your heart is beating. We can't pretend that this doesn't happen. But will it stop us? We must not let it stop us. That's the point. We acknowledge it, we salute it, and we move on. And yes, they will cause us anxiety. Anxiety is part of, this is the whole business about the left limbic system and the left mind. All kinds of things arise there. Part of them due to our samskaras. That's what we understand. Anything else from anyone? Thank you.
Shankara,
Yes, Somesh.
yes, I really like, I think Neeraji, or I couldn't get the name, she brought it up because most of the time when I don't do what I want to do or I don't say what I want to say, I don't see it as a fear. I rather see it as, the circumstances or the other person is like that, or I'm a shy person, like put it on me or like somebody else. But actually it is, it's instead of saying it's a fear, I create a story around it about the world is like this or I am like that. Or
yes,
yeah.
You're so right, Somesh. We're so good at these stories.
Yes.
We're so good at these stories about why things are the way they are, rather than just confronting them as they are.
Yes.
Saying, yes, very well said.
And the more we practice, the more next time it gets easier and easier. The same fear would not look like fear to us.
Well, it may look like fear, but it doesn't look like something that will stop us. These things, these contents of our latent and active subconscious, this is, just read C.J. Jung's Memories, Dreams, and Reflections and see how this great soul, this great thinker, this great spirit, how much he suffered from anxiety and weariness. He said toward the end of his life that if he had a serious conversation with someone, it would take him 2 days to recover. So,
how do you spell his name, please?
C period, J period, J-U-N-G. C.J. Jung, Carl Jung. And the book is Memories, Dreams, and Reflections.
Thank you.
And it is really a testimony to someone who had all kinds of anxieties and fears and depressions and all kinds of things, and did not let them stop him. So I think we're going to leave it there. We'll pick up with section 16, or 17, I'm sorry, when we come back in September. It's 8:30. Is there anything else from anyone? I'm not saying we have to wrap up the conversation, but I'm just saying we won't read on now.
Brother Shankara, Hari Om.
Yes. Hari Om, Vijay.
Two items. Thank you for saying a moment ago that we move on. But when I reflect on those words, on one hand, they're very practical, they mean a lot to me. And what I find is that there was something that happened to me in my early childhood, in the age of 8, 9, around that time, that left some fears in me. And it's not that I forgot those fears, I've just learned to move on.
Yes. We all had terrible things happen to us in our youth, I'm sure. I mean, anyone who has a youth that doesn't have some very fearsome experiences in it, whether they come from a parent or someone else, or just someone in our environment, or whether it's the environment itself that produces some terrible things that leave some scars or awaken some scars in us that already exist. So yes, we move on. You said there were two things.
Yes. The second one, I want to share with you my personal experience, very recent, with regard to the fear. Just last week, I had to go for MRI of my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I had to be in the machine for an hour and a half.
Oh my.
And I somehow developed fear a day or 2 days before. And what helped me was two things. One, Neera reminding me that just be a witness. Just know that it's not happening to you, you're a witness.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, what helped me was giving it a Godward turn, giving my fear a Godward turn. Instead of looking at a negative, I said to myself, this is the time, opportunity for me to spend with Thakur, with Mother, and Swamiji.
Yes.
And I practiced on that prior to my procedure at home for a little more than an hour. I practiced for a little more than an hour. And then during the procedure, it helped me a lot.
Very good. Yes. There is a dread here of those kinds of machines as well. And so what I do is the minute I get on the table and in the machine, I just start chanting my mantra and bring my mind to focus on the mantra, and just whatever's going to happen, it happens. And I notice a great deal less than I would if I were allowing my attention to focus on what was going on around the body. So I share that apprehension of those machines. I think we all do. They're very they're scary machines, and they put that dye in you that makes you feel peculiar and so on and so forth. And you know that those whatever it is, modern medicine is very, very accomplished in many things, but they have some scary stuff.
And Brother Shankara, those machines, when I'm in the chamber, they actually make a sound. Damn, damn, damn. So
Oh yeah,
like a hammer pounding it.
yeah. Well, that's I time the chanting of the mantra to that. Ba-da-dum, 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 ba-da-dum. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it helps block it out. Thank you for bringing that up, Vijay. And it is a powerful experience for anyone who's had to subject themselves to those machines.
It's especially when they instruct you, don't cough, that's when you feel like coughing. When they tell you,
Of course,
that's when you feel like
don't think of the elephant. What else can you possibly think of? The elephant. Yes, don't cough. All right. Anything else, dears?
I think I've shared this story before, but it's probably worth repeating now in context of what Vijayji just shared with us about putting our faith in the divine
Yes.
when we are faced with
Give it a Godward turn.
Godward turn. So there was this plane midair was experiencing a lot of turbulence. Things were shifting, and it was bouncing back and forth, and a lot of people on board were frightened and screaming and praying loudly and doing all these different actions to express. And there was this one little girl who seemed to be sitting completely unperturbed, no noise at all. So eventually everything was okay and the plane landed safely. And people asked her, how come, you're so young? She was like 5, 6, something like that. And you were so calm and composed, and all the grown-ups around you were screaming. And she said, that's because I know my father is the pilot. I know he would land it safely and would not let anything happen to me.
Ah, how sweet. How sweet. My father is the pilot. Yes, indeed. This is what we're told over and over by the great teachers. Don't think that you need to be in control. I'm in control. So there we are.
They're saying if you hold your father's hand is different than your father holding your hand, you're protected.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, Lord, take my hand.
Take my hand. Yes.
Yes. Anything else from anyone? All right, dears. Oh, dearly beloved. Om Hari Om. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Abir Moiti. O dearly beloved, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from this realm of endless noise and relentless confusion to thine abode of silence, serenity, clarity, and peace. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Om Yom. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga Durga Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. May we go forward in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So we have 2 further opportunities to be together before the August break. First is Saturday at noon, when we'll continue our reading and discussion of Swami Prabhavananda's How to Know God, his translation of and commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And then on Sunday, and I hope you will all make an effort to be at this, and whether you say anything or not, to participate in it in the way that we talk about. We're all participating, whether we're saying anything or not. And that is on Sunday at 11 a.m., we're going to have an open forum on Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga, and how do you think of it, and how is it, if at all, a part of your spiritual life and practice? There will be a worksheet attached to the newsletter. You'll also find it on the website and on the Facebook page. There's a one-page worksheet that is a rundown of the points that at least we'll start with. Heaven only knows where the conversation will go, and that's one of the glories of these open forums, is that there's so much that can be offered and said as we explore what it means to pursue the path of action. The path of action. So, any final thought from anyone? Anything at all?
Brother Shankara, I just wanted to let you know that God willing, Naveen and I are planning to come tomorrow to refresh the shrine flowers. Don't know yet what time, but
yes, that'll be great. Yes, they do need this loving attention, and thank you for letting me know. And if you can, stick around for a few minutes so we can talk.
yes, absolutely.
Tomorrow will be a good day for that. Anything else from anyone?
Just one, Brother Shankara.
Yes,
I just
dear.
wanted to say it was so wonderful. Today was so playful. I mean, let's pray and play our best.
Yes.
Let's not pray, but play. I mean, all those things, and the whole being together, I sometimes miss out, but I'm back.
I'm
Makes
so
up for
glad.
all the lost time.
So glad you're with us, dear. So glad you're with us. And I hope whatever it was that took your attention, that it was all successful and that you achieved what you needed to achieve. So,
Yes. It's good to see you all.
yes,
Oh,
good to see you too, dear. Good to see your face. Anything else from anyone, dears? All right. Until Saturday, if you choose to join us, and Sunday, and as I say, on Sunday, I really do hope you make the effort to participate, because this is where it really the rubber really does meet the road. What does Karma Yoga mean to you? It's all very well good to have it described in the books and in the quotes and all that. But what does it mean in your life, in your being? Being, creating, doing, sharing. The joys of these is why we're here. And that, of course, is very much addressed by Karma Yoga. As Sri Krishna says, this is the field of action, this body itself, and the world that seems to surround it, the universe that seems to surround it. Any final thought from anyone? All right, dears. A sweet and wonderful good night to you. Until next time, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.